JonBenét Ramsey, a name that resonates with a haunting echo in the annals of American crime history. A name forever etched in the annals of American crime. Her story is one of beauty and tragedy, a tale that has captivated and horrified the nation for decades. She was a tiny beauty queen with a megawatt smile, a little girl who seemed to have the world at her feet. JonBenét was not just a child, she was a star in the making, dazzling audiences with her charm and grace. 6 years old, full of life, and on the cusp of stardom. Her days were filled with laughter, joy, and the innocent dreams of a child who had yet to see the darker side of the world. Her world was one of pageants, playdates, and the unwavering love of her family. She was surrounded by those who adored her, who saw in her the promise of a bright future. But on December 26, 1996, that world shattered. The festive cheer of Christmas was replaced by an unimaginable horror. The Christmas lights dimmed, replaced by the harsh glare of a crime scene. The Ramsey home, once filled with joy and laughter, became the epicenter of a nightmare. Little JonBenét was gone, her light extinguished in a horrific act of violence. The world mourned the loss of a beautiful soul taken far too soon. The news of her death sent shockwaves across the nation. Headlines blared the tragic news, and the public was gripped by a mix of sorrow and outrage. How could such a thing happen? How could a child so full of life be taken in such a brutal manner? The questions were endless, and the answers seemed out of reach. Who would want to harm this innocent child? The community demanded justice, their voices rising in a collective cry for answers. The case became a national obsession, with everyone from seasoned detectives to armchair sleuths trying to piece together the puzzle. The questions were endless, the answers elusive. Investigators pored over every detail, every clue, but the truth remained just out of reach. The case was a labyrinth of theories and suspects, each twist and turn leading to more confusion. JonBenét's murder became a macabre puzzle, pieced together with whispers, speculation, and the chilling evidence left behind. The case remains one of the most infamous unsolved mysteries, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the brightest smiles. As we remember JonBenét Ramsey, we also remember the innocence lost and the questions that still linger. Her story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring quest for justice. The community continues to honor her memory, holding vigils and tributes, keeping her spirit alive in their hearts. JonBenét's legacy is one of beauty and tragedy, a story that will never be forgotten. And so, the search for answers goes on. Investigators and the public alike hold on to hope that one day, the truth will be uncovered, and justice will finally be served for JonBenét Ramsey. Until that day comes, we remember JonBenét Ramsey, a little girl whose light was extinguished too soon, but whose memory continues to shine brightly in the hearts of those who knew her and those who have come to know her story. The Ramseys' stately home in Boulder, Colorado, should have been filled with the joy of the season. Instead, it became a house of horrors. Patsy Ramsey, JonBenét's mother, made the chilling discovery: her little girl was gone. Panic seized the household. A frantic search ensued, leading to the unthinkable. In the cold, dark basement, JonBenét's tiny body lay lifeless. She had been brutally murdered. The scene was chaotic, the details too gruesome to comprehend. A ransom note left behind by the supposed kidnappers added another layer of confusion to the already baffling crime. The note was lengthy, unusual, and filled with strange demands. The investigation began immediately, a race against time to find JonBenét's killer. The police worked tirelessly, combing through every piece of evidence, every clue, and every lead. The urgency was palpable, as the community and the nation demanded answers. The crime scene was meticulously examined, with investigators hoping to uncover the truth hidden within the walls of the Ramsey home. The eyes of the world turned to Boulder, the media descending upon the small town like a swarm. News vans lined the streets, reporters set up their cameras, and journalists interviewed anyone who might have a piece of the puzzle. The quiet town was transformed into a media circus, with every corner of the community under the spotlight. The pressure on the local police force was immense, as they navigated the complexities of the case under the watchful eyes of the world. Every detail of the case was scrutinized, every theory debated. The newspapers were filled with headlines, each more sensational than the last. Television news programs dedicated hours to discussing the latest developments, while talk shows speculated wildly about potential suspects and motives. The public was captivated, and the case became a national obsession. Theories ranged from the plausible to the absurd, but each was given airtime, adding to the confusion and speculation. The Ramseys, thrust into the spotlight, became the primary focus of the investigation. Whispers turned to accusations. John and Patsy Ramsey found themselves at the center of a storm, their every move analyzed and criticized. Press conferences were held where they pleaded for privacy and understanding, but the public and the media were relentless. The couple's demeanor, their statements, and their actions were dissected, with many questioning their innocence. The police, the media, and the public seemed suspicious of the family's demeanor, their actions, their very words. The Ramseys' behavior was seen as unusual, and this fueled the fire of suspicion. The police were under pressure to solve the case quickly, and the media's portrayal of the family only added to the public's doubts. Every word spoken by the Ramseys was analyzed for hidden meanings, every gesture interpreted as a sign of guilt or innocence. Were they grieving parents? Or masterful manipulators? This question haunted the investigation. The Ramseys' public appearances were filled with emotion, but many wondered if it was genuine. The line between reality and perception blurred, as the media painted a picture of a family with something to hide. The emotional toll on the Ramseys was immense, as they struggled to cope with the loss of their daughter while being under constant scrutiny. The pressure mounted, the scrutiny relentless. The Ramseys were followed everywhere, their lives no longer their own. Reporters hounded them for statements, cameras captured their every move, and the public watched with bated breath. The investigation seemed to stall, with no clear answers in sight, and the Ramseys remained in the crosshairs. The relentless media coverage only added to the pressure, as the world demanded justice for JonBenét. The Ramseys, once a picture-perfect family, were now trapped in a web of suspicion, their lives dissected by a public hungry for answers. The idyllic image of their family life was shattered, replaced by a narrative of doubt and mistrust. The investigation dragged on with no resolution in sight, and the Ramseys' lives were forever changed. The case of JonBenét Ramsey remains one of the most perplexing and tragic mysteries, a story of a family torn apart by loss and suspicion. Section 4. The long shadow of doubt, evidence and suspicions. The evidence in the case was perplexing. The ransom note, analyzed and reanalyzed, offered tantalizing clues but no definitive answers. Fingerprints and DNA were collected, but no matches were found. The crime scene itself was problematic. Had it been contaminated? Were crucial pieces of evidence overlooked? Theories abounded, each one scrutinized and debated. Was it a random act of violence by an intruder? Was JonBenét the victim of a stalker, someone obsessed with her beauty queen status? Or was the answer to be found within the walls of the Ramsey home itself? Section 5. Whispers and speculation. Theories about an intruder. In the world of true crime, few cases have sparked as much debate and speculation as the tragic death of JonBenét Ramsey. Among the myriad of theories that have emerged over the years, one of the most enduring is the possibility of an intruder. This theory suggests that someone from outside the Ramsey household broke into their home on that fateful night. The idea of an unknown assailant slipping into the house, undetected, and committing such a heinous act has captivated the minds of investigators and the public alike. Could someone have broken into the home that night, snatched JonBenét from her bed, and committed this horrific act? The very thought sends chills down the spine. The notion of a stranger entering a child's sanctuary, her bedroom, and carrying out such a brutal crime is both terrifying and plausible. There was evidence to support this theory. An unlocked window which could have provided easy access to the intruder was found. This window, slightly ajar, became a focal point for those who believed in the intruder theory. Additionally, a broken basement window well was discovered. This damaged window, with its cracked pane and compromised frame, suggested a possible entry point for the perpetrator. The basement, often a secluded and less monitored part of the house, could have provided the perfect cover for someone trying to gain access without being noticed. Furthermore, unidentified footprints found at the scene all pointed to the possibility of an outside perpetrator. These footprints, which did not match any of the family members, added weight to the theory that someone from outside had been present at the crime scene. Some experts theorized that JonBenét may have been the victim of a predator, someone who had been watching her for some time. This individual, they speculated, could have been lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Someone who had been watching her, studying her routines, and waiting for an opportunity to act. The idea of a predator, fixated on JonBenét, is a chilling thought. This person could have been observing the Ramsey household from a distance, blending into the background and planning their move with meticulous precision. Drawn to her innocence and beauty, this predator might have seen JonBenét as the perfect target. Her participation in beauty pageants, which often put her in the public eye, could have made her more vulnerable to such unwanted attention. The ransom note, they argued, was a ruse, a desperate attempt to mislead the investigation. This note, with its peculiar demands and unusual phrasing, seemed designed to throw investigators off the trail and create confusion. As investigators delved deeper into the case, the intruder theory remained one of the most compelling. Despite the numerous twists and turns in the investigation, the possibility of an outside perpetrator continued to be a focal point of discussion and debate. The mystery of JonBenét's death, shrouded in whispers and speculation, remains unsolved, with the intruder theory standing as a haunting reminder of the unknown elements that still surround this tragic case. Section 6. The Burden of Proof, Examining the Family Theories. Despite the possibility of an intruder, the focus of the investigation remained on the Ramseys. Some investigators believed that JonBenét's death was a tragic accident, perhaps the result of a disciplinary action gone wrong. They theorized that the ransom note was staged, an elaborate attempt to cover up the truth. The pressure on the family intensified. Every aspect of their lives was scrutinized, their actions analyzed for any hint of guilt. The cloud of suspicion hung heavy, threatening to consume them. But despite the intense scrutiny, no charges were ever filed against John, Patsy, or Burke Ramsey. Section 7. A case gone cold but not forgotten. The investigation continues. Years turned into decades, and the case grew colder. The trail seemed to have gone dead, the answers lost in a maze of speculation and doubt. But the memory of JonBenét lingered, a constant reminder of a crime unsolved, a life cut tragically short. The Boulder Police Department, however, never gave up hope. The case remained open, a haunting reminder of their unfinished business. Investigators continued to pursue leads, to re-examine evidence, and to hope for that one break that would finally lead them to JonBenét's killer.